Welcome back, YouTube. I'm Edwin.
And I'm Joseph.
And this is
Edwin and Joseph Talks. So in this episode, we're going to continue from last week's little bit talk introduction with the USS Nimitz and exactly what that entailed, and we'll go a little bit deeper into some of the sightings. Now, the show that I was referred to on History Channel, I actually wrote it down this time, do your research, y'all, is Unidentified Inside America's UFO Investigation. Now, the main person in that is Luis Elizondo. What had happened was in 2017, the New York Times did a front page about the Pentagon's UFO program. There's a big long word on it. I didn't care to write it down. You guys can do some of the research on that. After that, Lewis basically retired from the Pentagon. He wanted to bring this information more to the limelight and to the public and urged the government to start doing more research and try to spearhead, to the general public about what's going on.
As far as UFOs and stuff.
So the very first thing that they looked at was, of course, 2004 was the USS Nimitz incident, where we kind of talked about in the previous episode. Now, they had some real good people to interview directly with the USS Nimitz. They had, a couple fighter pilots.
Mm-hmm.
They had somebody from radio control.
Okay.
Picked it up. They had a couple that were going to talk about it, then decided not to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They were still active duty people.
Well, that's what had to do with a lot of the people that backed out, and then even some of the ones that talked, blurred out and everything, just because some of them were still active duty.
Now, one thing was cool is they talked to some other fighter pilots. They were able to get a hold of them that I mentioned in the earlier video that they were in the Middle Eastern in a live actual run.
Yeah.
So what they seen was, they described it, instead of being a tic-tac like object like the USS Nimitz, they seen a square object that had the glowing, that was flying almost like the Foo Fighters that we had talked about.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that was triggered, I forgot to mention this before, with the U.S. Nimitz, as the planes were going out, which triggered everything, is the guy watching the radar technician that they were talking with, said that UFOs were like dropping almost out of the sky. He said there was multiples of them just dropping out and into the ocean, disappearing out of the radar, and that's when the planes started seeing with the Nimitz. Okay, so that brings up the USOs. Now, Lewis went down to Mexico.
Okay.
Because one of the people he talked about was like, hey, listen, or talked to, was like, I can give you the points of where we seen these things disappear into the ocean. Now, there's an island right off of Mexico that, unless you are from Mexico, you can't go there. No foreign people can go there. There's a Mexican military base on one side, and it's enclosed off. Now, he did talk to the locals. All the locals all had sightings of a UFO or a USO coming in and out of the ocean. So they didn't, as much in the investigation as they can there. So all through the Pacific coast, we're seeing USOs and UFOs emerging in those barriers. And the same activity happening, in the Gulf Coast, over in the Middle East and stuff like that. Other than other stuff that we brought up before, You know, what are some red flags on this? What are...
Well, I mean, definitely the whole, you know, like you said, the radar technician saw multiples. Now you got to think how many people go out there, you know, swimming, boating. We don't know these things are out there, and the government up until now, you know, denies it.
Yeah.
So just imagine being out there and it's just, you know, you by yourself out fishing, or you and some friends, and out of nowhere this big thing just comes out of the water and stuff. You know, this is why things, and again, I understand their reason and you know why they don't make it publicly, because I do see it causing like chaos and commotion. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, like, this is why we should know about things like this, you know. But I mean, as far as red flags, you know, like the people in Mexico, were they being taken seriously or no?
Honestly, he talked to him. I mean, it was Luis Elizondo that was talking with him. He was taking it seriously.
But do we know about the government?
I mean, he doesn't know about how the Mexican government's taking it.
Okay.
Of course, you know, that island seems to be more secretive than, you know.
Which that could be a red flag in itself.
Yeah,
as far
and honestly, I mean, I understand it. They do have a military base there, but if there's, you know, USOs happening there, is the Mexican government, are they, I can't say working with them, but in the same sense, they have to be really aware. If all these locals are aware, they have to be aware of what's going on. Is it
like kind of like an Area 51 thing as to like, do they have anything in there? Do they?
And we don't know.
Yeah.
He was just able to talk to the people, just local. It was mostly local fishermen, and the fishermen showed him some spots where they've seen activity, but almost every single one that they talked to
had
some kind of account of something that they just had no clue what it was coming in and out of the waters, and of like activity.
Now, since we're speaking about like another foreign government, it doesn't have to do with the American one. You know, that I've heard stories in the past as to, you know, like our government and other governments have had meetings with these aliens and, you know, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And what I've always wondered, because I've heard they have big unionized meetings, almost like a what do you call it, the embassy kind of thing, where like all the countries are represented.
Yeah, the UN and all that.
Right, this is all the prime ministers and presidents and all that. But then I've also heard that, like in the past, Russia has had communications and they try to hide it from everybody. Mm-hmm. I've heard, you know, just different countries having these different meetings or communications, whatever you want to call it, with these beings and trying to hide it from, you know, the rest of the country or the rest of the.
I've heard of cases like that as well, especially in the U.S., where somebody has seen like a craft come down. They've seen, you know, figures come out of the craft, and then they'll see like 2 or 3 men approach. They talk, they leave, and then they leave, you know, go.
Now, do you think? Well, I mean, obviously, kind of just that's pretty red flag right there, because, I mean, if we're doing it, we don't know what the reason behind our government doing it is. So that makes you think about countries like Russia and the Middle East and other people who've had these secret meetings, you know?
You know, and a lot of people speculated with Russia and the U.S. that the whole Cold War era, trying to get to the moon and all that, had largely to do with, you know, aliens in general.
Right.
You know, once you really start looking at, you know, some of the accounts and cases about how the technology just kind of took off so quick. Now, I'm not saying, you know, as humans we're dumb. We're not dumb people. We can figure out technology, and we did have a major technology boom after a certain period, a certain era. But I want to say that alien technology in some way, whether reverse engineering or them showing us stuff spearheaded some of our knowledge of what we know.
Well, yeah, I mean, for technology to jump the way it did, it had to have.
Yeah.
Now, the Nimitz, with all this going on with it, do you think this could potentially lead to, like, our government actually acknowledging these things and coming forward with it?
It's a start because the Pentagon released these.
Yeah.
You know, the New York Times didn't just stumble upon it. It got released. And Luis Elizondo, there's a lot of stuff, if you watch that show, there's stuff that he can't talk about. And he's very good at saying that. I can respect that.
Well, yeah,
you know, he was a government official, worked for, you know, a lot of top security stuff. So for somebody like that to kind of spearhead this and get a group, because the group he got, other than Tom from Blink, is all government or kind of secretive stuff.
They've had some association with the government.
You know, so it's a pretty reputable source of who's coming out with the information and how they're looking at information. They're just not taking any case.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that was cool was in one of the later episodes, they talked with a bunch of government officials from around the world. And I want to say it was in Italy. So their government is very open about what they research UFO-wise.
Yeah, I remember these all.
Behind the scenes, they gave him a thumb drive. And so when they got, it was him and Tom, when they got in the car, he was in the back seat, plugged it in, and it gave every single account that they researched and investigated. And he was like, whoa. He goes, I was not expecting this, you know. And there's some significant information on there that I don't think they're released yet or anything, but, you know, they've done a lot of research, and they pretty much handed him over saying, hey, we understand what you're doing. Here's our help in it. So that was kind of cool, you know. I think we're getting to a point where we're about ready to be like, hey, this is happening. And I would just like the government to be like, it's real. Some of it is uncontrolled. Some of it is.
Yeah.
You know, if we're working with, you know, alien species that has UFO technology, they can say, you know, we are working with them, but there's some that we're not.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, pretty sure most of their hiding it has to do with mass chaos.
Yeah.
But the best thing to do that, or the best thing to fight that, would be to slowly start breaking it into people, you know?
And, you know, this might have been it. That
it could have been.
It might be kind of the start. You know, we never know. It's kind of like I brought up before. Why did Trump all of a sudden want a Space Force?
Yeah.
I don't think he was watching Star Wars and just like, hey, this sounds awesome, guys. No, I honestly think that there's a reason behind it, and it has to do more than just saying, oh, Russia or China or something like that. To me, there's a lot more to that. A lot of stuff that they're probably like, especially how stupid he is with tweets and stuff. I think they're like, listen, you can talk about this, but you cannot talk about this.
We talked about it though.
So, that's kind of it for this part of the USS Nimitz and kind of the details of it. Really check out that history show.
To get full details.
Yeah, for the full details. You know, I'm not trying to rip off their show. I'm not trying to rip their information out. That's why I'm saying go watch it. And it's really well done. They're about, I want to say 40 minutes. So probably an hour, like if it was actually on TV.
Yeah.
There's some cool information in it. It was a good good show to watch on everything. And with that, I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah. I think we're going to do shorter this week, though. We got about 3 days this week.
Oh, yeah. This week, we're going to do 3 days of content. We'll do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's been a busy weekend. And one of our episodes, you'll kind of see probably what we're talking about on that.
Thank you guys for joining us. Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell thingy. And we'll see you guys again.